Welcome to the 129th season of the Canadian Club Toronto, Canada's podium. For over a century, this stage has united visionaries and leaders from politics, business, community, and the arts to share insights on the most pressing issues of our time. And with Canada in a pivotal moment, it's more important than ever that we come together.
We've been having important discussions and debates around this podium in this country for well over a century. I call this a historic podium of record.
Our club's always been a forum for visionaries, public figures, and decision makers to command attention to the issues of our time.
The Canadian Club is one of the most important podiums anywhere in the world that a Canadian can speak to, tell Canadians what it is that they think, develop those thoughts. So I want to thank you for that very, very much.
Please join me in thanking our esteemed panelists today.
Through our programs and events, including our youth and young leaders programs, our diversity partnerships, our joint events, and our media and social media opportunities, we offer you access to dynamic political, social, and business figures from abroad and right here at home.
The platform from which the eloquence of Canada has flowed all of that time, whether it be business, education, politics, sports, arts and culture. If someone wants to say something to Canadians about this country and about the future of this country, this is the venue you choose.
Hello again. Hope you had a great lunch. Good afternoon, everyone. We're now going to welcome our online audience. My name is Andrea Hunt. It's a pleasure to have you with us. For more than a century, Canadian Club Toronto has brought together leaders, thinkers, and Canadians from across sectors to engage in conversations that matter. Today continues that tradition. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge those who make our events possible, to our season sponsor, the Canadian Bankers Association and the Carpenters Regional Council. Thank you for your leadership and continued support of Canadian Club Toronto. We are also grateful to Air Canada, our official airline sponsor, and to our exclusive nature partner, Canada's Forest Trust Corporation, who are proud to partner for the third consecutive year. Together, we're planting and protecting trees in Canadian forests. By 2028, we'll plant nearly 4,300 trees, capturing over 800,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide over their lifetime. Canadian Club Toronto regularly invites young leaders to join these events. Where do we have our young leaders in the room? Do we? From the University of Toronto's Monk School of Global Affairs and Public Policy. There they are. Great. Glad to have you with us. Let me also take a moment to highlight Canadian Club Toronto. Please visit canadianclub.org to learn more about our upcoming events and access our on-demand content. We welcome your feedback. You'll see QR codes on your tables. Please take a moment to scan and share your thoughts. This afternoon, we are recognizing two individuals whose work has shaped Canada's scientific understanding, public dialogue, and civic conversation in meaningful and lasting ways. It is especially fitting that we do so as we mark Dr. Suzuki's 90th birthday. I think another round of applause. Without further ado, it is my privilege to present the Canadian Club Toronto Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. David Suzuki and Dr. Tara Cullis. If you could join me. You want to come over here? Oh, you want to go there? Standing behind the Canadian flag, I think, is a good. Now let's go.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Thanks.
And I think you're going to sit. I think you're going to take a seat, and I think you're going to go. We're going to do it
Go
this
right
way.
into it.
Thank you very
You're going
much.
to go this way.
Oh, I'll take it.
You get to take
I'll
it?
take
Perfect.
care of this.
Congratulations. Perfect. And you can have a seat. There you are. Perfect. For more than 6 decades, Dr. Suzuki has helped shape how Canadians understand the natural world and our relationship to it. Throughout his career, Dr. Suzuki has never shied away from speaking candidly, often sparking conversations, sometimes debate, but always pushing us to think more deeply about our responsibility to the planet. Through his work in science, broadcasting, and public engagement, he has brought complex ideas into public life. Alongside him, Dr. Cullis has been a thoughtful and influential leader in advancing environmental education, community engagement, and collaboration. As co-founder of the David Suzuki Foundation, she has helped build an organization grounded in science and partnership. Together, their contributions reflect the role that knowledge, dialogue, and collaboration play in shaping a strong and informed society. They have shown that a shared life can also be a shared vocation, one shaped by love, legacy, and a deep sense of responsibility to the planet and future generations. Dr. Cullis, where are you? Are you there? I feel like you should be here. Do you want to come and join Dr. Suzuki on stage? Come. Come again. Come again. We'll just come one more time, just because I think you deserve to stand together as you've worked together, and then we'll transition to the conversation. You'll sit together. We'll just have one more round of applause. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great. Now we're going to transition to a conversation. That's it. Now we're going to shift. So now you can take your seat, and we're going to bring up Valerie. We're trying to get our steps in here today, ladies and gentlemen. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As always, our goal at the Canadian Club Toronto is to create space for thoughtful and candid conversation, and to bring forward perspectives that help us better understand the issues shaping our country. Today, we have the opportunity to hear directly from Dr. David Suzuki. To guide that discussion, we are extremely fortunate to have one of Canada's most respected journalists and broadcasters here with us today. Valerie Pringle has spent decades interviewing leaders across business, politics, science, and culture, and is a decorated Canadian and a respected advocate in her own right. Valerie, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Lovely shiny faces. How are you?
Good.
How are you feeling, 90?
I'm feeling great, and I'm delighted that Tara was able to share the stage. Not only is she the brains and the beauty behind me, but she gets to sleep with me every night.
A happy woman. So you're the geneticist with good genes, or?
Well, I selected my
clean
parents very carefully.
And clean living, of course.
Well, I wouldn't know about that.
Now, you've been a committed environmentalist, I've heard you say, since you read Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. What was that, 1962 or something
1962,
like that?
yeah.
And, you know, everyone in this room knows how hard you've worked, how much you've spoken, how much you've written. But you recently told iPolitics, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And, well, the thing I do is I do what Greta Thunberg did. Greta, you know, who's had, I think, an impact greater than any other person, said, we were taught in school to take science seriously. I take science seriously, I've read it, and what the science says, as a child, I don't have a future if we go this way. And that's what I've tried to do in my life, is to take the science seriously. And, you know, all of the science now, which has been coming at us now for years and years, says that we're past tipping points. And, you know, everybody's saying, well, what's the hope? Are you an optimist? I'm sorry, I'm a realist. And we've been spending years and years trying to tell people, take the science seriously. And I want to, I left it in I brought the most important document that came out in 1992 in anticipation of the Earth Summit in Rio. And this is a document called World Scientists' Warning to Humanity. And it was signed by 1,500 scientists, senior scientists from 71 countries, including more than half of all Nobel Prize winners. Thank you. And the opening paragraph says it all. Well, I don't have to read it because I've memorized it. Human beings in the natural world are on a collision course. Human activities inflict harsh and often irreversible damage on the environment and on critical resources. If not checked, many of our current practices put at serious risk the future we wish for human society and may so alter the living world that it will be unable to support life in the manner that we know. And later in the document, they say we may have as little as 10 years to turn things around.
That was 92?
1992. So 25 years later, World Scientists' Warning to Humanity, a second notice was published, and it was signed by 15,000 scientists from 184 countries in the world. And they just said it's got way worse. You haven't paid attention. So at some point, all the time I was with the nature of things, I was told, oh, you can't say that. You can't say that. People get too depressed. And when we started the David Suzuki Foundation in 1990, they said, oh, you can't say that. I mean, we're a charity. We'll get in trouble with. Sure enough, Mr. Harper came after us. We had audits. And I finally resigned from the board of the very foundation that Tara and I helped set up because I couldn't tell the truth. We had the greatest environment minister we've ever had, Stephen Guilbeault, who was an ally with us in 1997 in Kyoto. He was there on behalf of Greenpeace. We were allies. He's been a great environment minister, but after he'd been in office for 2 years, I said, you have to resign. You have to resign and tell people why. You can't tell the truth. I met with Mr. Carney yesterday, and the problem is he's caught up in the game of politics, and he can't tell the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is we have passed the tipping points. Scientists have been saying if you pass beyond those points, then chaos is going to result. You cannot go back. We've all been trying to pull people back from the edge. The Johann Rockström, who is the head of the Potsdam Institute, in 2006 gathered together about 25 of the most eminent scientists in the world and released a paper defining 9 planetary boundaries. These are the things that keep us as an animal, that keep us alive. Things like the amount of carbon in the air, pH of the oceans, the ozone layer, nitrogen cycles, the amount of fresh water. And the report said, we have now only successfully pulled back from the danger zone with ozone. And when the report came out in 2006, we had passed 3 of the other 8 tipping boundaries. And last year, Johann was in New York and announced, we have now passed 7 of the 9 boundaries. We cannot go back. And then.
So what does that mean? What do you?
Well, it means that we're in for a very uncertain future. We can't rely on nature to rescue us. For example, the heating, we say from greenhouse gases and so on, has been going on very slowly. So we're projecting to the year 2100. We've got to keep temperature rising above 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2100. But what the science is telling us is we've been living in a fool's dream because we don't know enough. But the oceans that cover over 70% of the planet, they have acted as a buffer. They have been absorbing all the warming. They're filled up now. They've warmed up. And now the rate of heating is accelerating. So in January, German scientists announced we're not on the way to keeping it to 1.5 by 2100. We passed 1.5 last year. We are on our way to 3-degree rise by 2050, which is in the lives of most of you. And the science says we are in for chaos. We just don't know. And what lies ahead.
Now, you know people call you a catastrophist.
Well,
You know, there was a article in the paper saying, he's been crying wolf for years,
Yeah.
you know, overpopulation, everything's so bad.
yeah. And, you know, it's true, you know, I have been a crying wolf. They say, what are some of the epithets that we've received? But, you know, in the story about the boy who cried wolf, in the end, the wolf came. And I'm sorry, I am just repeating what the science is telling us. And even the scientists tend to be muted in terms of projecting. They're just saying, we're passing tipping points. And, you know, look, in 2018, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the most credible organization on climate, very conservative group, came out with a report that said we must not let temperature rise above 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2100. The day after this report came out, marijuana became legal in Canada. And guess what disappeared from the media? We're not taking these things seriously. The following year, to me, the most frightening document came out of the United Nations on biodiversity. And what the report said was all of the animals and plants that were on this planet when I was born in 1936, over half of them are now extinct. And another 1 million are poised to go extinct. Now, if that doesn't have you shitting in your pants, then you're not really aware of the implications of what that is. We're a part of a community of organisms on whom our very existence depends. If all of the green things disappeared on this planet, you and I would not be here because they create the atmosphere we depend on for the very air that we breathe. The day after this UN report came out, Harry and Meghan had a baby. And guess what disappeared from the media? We're not serious. So then people like me are called catastrophists because we keep saying, look at the science. The science is telling us, and we're not paying attention. I'm really sorry, but I wear that label gladly and proudly. If that's what it takes to be heard, I am a catastrophist.
This is often portrayed as a battle, and often portrayed as a battle between economy and environment.
Exactly.
Is it?
Of course, it is the way it exists. People forget the word economics comes from the same word as ecology, right? The Greek word oikos means household or domain. Ecology is the study of that domain and to find the principles of sustainability and so on. Economics is the management of that domain. Now, you would think that any economist then, before they start a new policy or program, would say, wait, what are those ecologists saying? Because we don't want to violate any of the ecological principles. But no, that's not how we do it. We had a prime minister who for 10 years said, doing something about global warming is crazy economics. And so Stephen Harper elevated the economy above the very atmosphere that gives us air to breathe. We can't live. If we don't have air for 2 to 3 minutes, we're dead. I mean, what could be more important than air? But crazy economics if we're trying to do something to manage our effect on the atmosphere. It's the atmosphere that gives us weather, climate, the seasons.
And even though, you know, we can see catastrophic weather patterns and consequences every year, you know, people now, given Trump, etc., are going, whoa, we have to think about jobs, we have to build pipelines.
Yes.
I mean, that's taking precedence because people's livelihoods are at stake.
And that's, you know, even long before Trump, I mean, we've had the same arguments. And what I see now very clearly is the problem is that we have created systems to shape, to guide, and constrain human activity, but we left nature out. So, you know, you look at what do we do in law? You know, we define property and we define rights of individuals. But nature isn't a part of that. Nature is not a, you look at
Isn't there a river that's a person now?
Well, yeah, we think, celebrate the Magpie River has been given personhood. New Zealand has done the same. Ecuador has done, oh, look at that, we're really, wait a minute, who the hell gives you the right to define what is a person or have the rights of a person? That is the most arrogant thing I can imagine. What about the right of a mosquito to live, or a dandelion? I mean, who the hell do we think we are? And generally, when we recognize another species as, oh, they're special, because they seem to show signs of intelligence, So, crows are really smart. They are. Octopuses, they're really smart. But wait a second, our intelligence was a means of survival. The fact that is a part of the abilities of a crow or octopus, that's really interesting. But, horseshoe crabs have been around for hundreds of millions of years. They didn't have to be intelligent in the way we define intelligence. We are such an arrogant animal now. We think we've lost what people have understood for almost all of human existence, that we are one small strand in a web of relationships with all other animals and plants, with the air, water, soil, and sunlight. That's the foundation of the way that we exist. The legal systems, they simply don't recognize that. And the economic system, which Mark Carney, before he became a politician, pointed out in his book Values, the first chapter, blew me away, that Jeff Bezos' Amazon is valued by the economy in the tens of billions of dollars, while Brazil's Amazon, the rainforest, the greatest terrestrial ecosystem on the planet, has no economic value until it is logged, mined, dammed, or grows houses, soybeans, or cattle. Now, if that isn't an example of how crazy the economic system is, and yet Danielle Smith, we got to run after her and say, oh, don't worry, we're not going to ruin your economy, and we can't have pipeline. We can't take it all out of the ground. We can't do that. But we can't say that because the economic implications of all that are so great.
Well, and you get knocked for this, that you're polarizing, because people, and you know this, David, I was watching people come up, they worship you. You're a hero, they admire you, or revile you, blame you. Yeah, how do you handle that? You're either really too sucked up to, or people find you appalling.
Well, no. One of the important things I learned as a boy, it was in high school. I got elected president of the student council, and a reporter asked me. I can't remember what it was, but I gave some namby-pamby answer, which got reported in the paper. And my dad was furious when he read this. He said, that's not what you believe. I've heard you say the opposite of that. Why the hell did you say that? I said, well, I didn't want the parents to get pissed off at me. Boy, did my dad get pissed off at me. He said, if you want everyone to like you, then you're not going to stand for a goddamn thing. Whatever you believe in, there are going to be people who don't agree. So you better be prepared. If you're going to stand up for anything that matters, you've got to expect people to dump on you. And thank you to my dad for that.
Yeah, so your dad was a remarkable guy.
He was, yeah. I mean,
was he in an internment camp?
Of course,
yeah,
of course. My dad and mother were born and raised in Canada and had never been to Japan. But of course, when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, then all of the racist things came in. And if we're Japanese, well, they must be the enemy. They're enemy aliens. So anyway, let's not go over that long, except the lesson for me coming out of that, there were two important lessons I had. As a child, we were moved into a camp from Vancouver when I was 6. And I was bullied by the Japanese kids in the camp because most of them, their parents had been born in Japan. They were the first generation in Canada, where I was the second generation. And my dad always said, if you want to learn a second language, you're learning French. We're Canadians. But these Japanese kids, they could flip back and forth, and I didn't understand them half. So they bullied me. So I didn't want to hang out with them, but I had one good friend who hung out with me. She was a girl whose dad was a white person in the army fighting for Canada, and the mother was Japanese. So here was this child. The mother and Daisy got swept up in the evacuation, and she and I played together. But the kids that bullied me would torment her. And the greatest shame I've had all my life is that I didn't have the courage to stand up against the bullies. I just ran away. But the lesson from that is not just what a coward I was, but that when victims of racism, we were all in the camps because of the racism of British Columbia. When victims of racism become racists, then racism wins. You know, and that's a very, very important lesson.
And we see that.
And
yeah. People.
Sorry, the other.
Yep.
Oh, I've forgotten what the other lesson
it's all right, you're 90.
That's okay.
I forget stuff. I'm, not quite there. I look forward to it. I was thinking that, you're a hero to so many people, but your hero is Tara.
Of course. And we've been circulating around Southern Ontario with a play. Thank you to Ravi and the Why Not Theatre that created this play.
Do people know about this play? Okay. Tell us about the play and the title and how it came to be.
It's based on the relationship between Tara and me and the adventures that we've had together, but underlying it was what has created us as a team that's been so effective is the love that binds us together.
It's very personal.
Yeah. But the thing I love about the play is that anyone who saw it knows I'm just a pretty face. The brain.
Actually, she's a very pretty face. The pictures of you guys when you were young, honest to Pete, I would have married Tara. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. She's an accomplished writer. She got her PhD in comparative literature, and the ideas that she got, which was, the conjunction of science and literature and the arts. She did a brilliant analysis for her thesis and went on to become a professor of writing at Harvard University, which she then gave up after 5 years because she felt that the battles over the forests in BC and in the Amazon were far more important than teaching a bunch of already well-set kids at Harvard. She made that choice. But people will see the drive and the influence that she's had on me and the environmental movement. So,
but and this has given you a life. Like, you're touring around with this play. You've been touring Ontario. You were in Ottawa just yesterday, and you've been in Niagara. But the idea is to go and speak to communities, because the play is called What You Won't Do for Love, about your love for each other and the conversation about that, your history and your long marriage, etc., tied in with the love for the planet and about love.
Our love for our children and grandchildren.
Yeah. Oh, that's what we're getting to that.
So, the play has been wonderful, but, having seen that we passed too many tipping points to go back, we're very intrigued by what Finland, which the UN calls the happiest country in the world, what Finland has done. Finland has sent a letter to every citizen saying, look, shit is going to hit the fan. There's no way to avoid it. We're on the border with Russia. We have a long marine coastline. The oceans are warming and rising, and climate change is kicked in. So we know that the emergencies are going to happen. We can't say what they will be, but government will not be able to respond with the speed and on the scale that you're going to need at the time. So get your act together. Start on every block. Find out who your neighbors are. Are there people who are shut-ins that will need immediately help? Are there any nurses? Are there any doctors? Who has a generator? Where is there a supply of water? Start assessing what you have in your community to prepare for whatever crisis we might have. And so this is what we've been using the play as an avenue to meet members of the community. The answers, the solutions to resilient communities are all there. There are people working on, food banks and street people or water sources of energy. There are people working on different aspects. And we wanted to bring them together to see that they are a part of a really important movement to find as much community resilience and adaptability as possible. The community is going to be the unit of survival, I think, into the future.
How did you raise your daughters?
Well, as well as I could. They are privileged children, and they acknowledge that. But because of that, we were able to take them on many, many adventures, which made the adventures that much more meaningful to Tara and me. But because of our relationship with the Kayapo people in the Amazon, we got to take the children back to a village deep in the Amazon rainforest that can only be, it takes 14 days by dugout canoe to get there. But they cut a tiny airstrip, and we went in by air and lived there for almost 2 weeks. And it was like going back in time, to a time when people lived on the basis of what the forest gave them. It reminded me of a group in, I've forgotten the bay. It's a community in the top end of Vancouver Island. And the elders there said, in the 1930s when there was a depression, we didn't even know there was a depression. The forest was still intact. The oceans were still rich. We didn't need anything else, and that's, again, a reminder of how dependent on all of the stuff that we've got now. And the challenge now is that 85% of us now live in cities. And in a city, everybody's highest priority is your job. I need a job to buy the things I want, to buy some of the things I need. And so we think the economy is the source of everything that matters. And so we support different parties because they have an economic agenda or whatever. And we forget the reality that we are still animals. And as animals, so if anything comes out of this conversation, the most important thing is that everybody comes to understand and agree with me with what I say is the bottom line. This is very important. When I was a young professor, I was asked to debate a creationist. So I naively thought, I'm so smart and I'm a biologist, let's go and talk. And I realized instantly that we weren't talking, this wasn't a debate, because we didn't begin with any fundamental agreement. The creationists believed that the Bible is the ultimate source of truth and reality, where I was saying it's science. There was no communication. And this was reminded, we recently had, John Horgan was the Premier of British Columbia, and he got cancer, so he got replaced by David Eby. 3 weeks after David Eby was installed, I walk out of the office. There's a guy standing there with a sign saying, "Recall Eby." I said, "What the hell? He's only been in office 3 weeks." So I go up to him and he goes, "Hi, Dave." So he knew who I was. I said, "What's this all about?" And he said, "It's about freedom. We don't want government telling us what to do all the time. We want the freedom to make our choice." And I said, "Oh, this is about masks and vaccines, right?" Yeah, that's all a part of it. So I said, the air coming out of your nose is going straight up mine, and vice versa. Do you think maybe there's a responsibility that if I can filter out whatever's coming out of my nose before it goes up yours, that's what we should be doing? So I thought we're getting to a level where we can have a serious discussion. His reaction was, "Suzuki, you used to be such a good guy. You're such an asshole now." And that's the way all of our conversations begin.
So what do you want people to all agree on? You say want everyone to agree with you on.
I tell kids this and they get it right away. I say, "All right, kids, I want you to take a deep breath and just hold it for 5 minutes. I'm going to keep on talking. And you know how children are so trusting. They puff up, within 20 seconds they're turning bright pink, and in 40 seconds they're now breathing. And I say, air, we don't think about air, it's invisible, but it's in us, it's circulating through us. If we don't have air for 3 to 4 minutes, we're dead. If we have to breathe polluted air, everything, that pollution goes into our bodies and we filter it, it's in our bodies. And I talk about then that we are 60 to 70% water. We're just a big blob of water with enough thickener added, we don't dribble away on the floor. But our bodies leak, right? It comes out of our skin and our mouth and our eyes and our crotch, and we lose water. If you don't have water for how long is it? 4 to 6 days, you're dead. Water and air are not created by human factories or technology. Clean water, the atmosphere, is created by nature itself. All of our food was once alive, and most of it or all of it comes directly or indirectly from the soil. And we create our own bodies from the carcasses of plants and animals that we consume. Every bit of the energy in our bodies that we need to move, grow, and reproduce, and play and work is sunlight captured by plants and photosynthesis, converted into chemical energy, and we then get it when we eat that. And so when we need to do work, we burn those molecules and release the sun's energy back out in our bodies. So the air, the water, the soil that gives us our food, the energy from the sun, are all captured, replenished, recycled, cleansed by nature. And yet, as I said in the Carney story about Amazon, nature isn't in the economy. It's not a part of it. Nature isn't the priority in our laws or in our political system. Trees don't vote. Fish don't vote. The atmosphere doesn't vote. For that matter, children don't vote. Future generations don't vote. Well, they're not on the agenda.
And I know you've been very emotional about your grandchildren. Everybody loves grandchildren the most, the best. But yeah, hard for you sometimes, you say, even to sort of hold them and look in their eyes.
Very, very difficult. And in the play we talk about the only time it's ever happened, but when I was holding our twin grandchildren, they were infants at that time, and Tara and my daughter were cooking away, and I suddenly found myself, the tears were just running down my face, and Tara and Sarika grabbed the babies. They're going, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I couldn't speak, and I was overwhelmed with a sense of despair. And just, I ended up wailing. And, that sense of the evidence has been in. We boast that we are such an intelligent creature. We celebrate our intelligence. And yet the fundamental facts of who we are as animals, we don't pay attention to. And I felt at that time, I knew those kids don't have a chance. The world that I grew up in is not here. And it's becoming less and less resilient because we're just, someone I was talking to is saying, our company tries to plant so many trees in order to compensate for whatever. Was that you? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. And that all sounds great, but you've got to think that it takes one large tree a year to remove the carbon from burning 1 gallon of gas. And the rate of clear-cutting our forests is going on, and we plant these little trees thinking those trees are replacing what we're logging the hell out of, We're not thinking long enough term, that we are undermining the very systems that keep us going. And I'm sorry, everybody says, but what's the hope? Give us some hope.
Give us some
hope, based on, don't worry, that, we'll think of something. Small nuclear reactors, we'll find a way to manage the amount of heat hitting that's just hopium. That's just hopium. Shoot it up and feel better. It's not doing a goddamn thing to get us off the path that we're on.
Who do you admire?
Well, I'm grateful to Greta. Who do I admire? And you know, the greatest hero, I came that close to meeting Fidel Castro, one of my great heroes. I never met Cesar Chavez from Venezuela. My biggest hero is Nelson Mandela.
Interesting. You know, everybody says that, David, and the people who met him, you know, felt profoundly changed by him. It's so interesting. I mean, and I agree. He was, if people say, who didn't you interview, who did you want to that you never did, it would be Nelson Mandela.
But you know, the astounding thing about him, and the problem is he set too high a bar for the vast majority of us. When you look at what he went through in those years in prison, and when he got out, realized the end of apartheid, actually got to be president, there wasn't any sense of, you know, I want my revenge. I mean, everything in me would have cried out for vengeance, and he didn't. I mean, that was an amazing thing.
That was superhuman in so many ways.
Yeah.
We'll finish. What do you feel you have accomplished?
Well, to me, you know, we can't measure our lives by what we achieve, I think. Because if we use that, then all of my efforts have been a total failure. I think that, to me, my legacy is, and it's mainly to my grandchildren, that I tried. And that's all, to me, that's what defines us as a species, is that people do try to make it better, you know. That's all we can do. The sad thing is that I'm living in a time when I know the uncertain future that's ahead for my grandchildren, and I'm not going to be around to fight for them. But every parent in this room ought to be concerned about what we're leaving them. And we cannot continue to allow the economy or politics to set the bottom line. We can't do that. And I know this is a hard pill for many of you who are in the business sector, and you know, people coming up and telling me how we're trying to do it, but you're caught up in the system. It's a system, the economic system, the capitalist system we're built on, that is built on, has left nature out and is built on the creed of cancer, endless growth. The global economy is now way too big for the planet to take it, and growth is driving us very rapidly over that ditch. And yet all of our solutions to problems like climate change are incremental changes, you know, trying to shift things, but we haven't seen that it's the very system, the drive for profit, and it's not only that you're content with 5% profit every year, we've got to grow the profit. Like, this is the creed of cancer, and it's impossible to maintain. But no politician or business person is even going to talk about no growth economy, and we have to go into degrowth. That's where it's at. But it's political or economic suicide to talk about that.
Well, that's a fun note to end on, as always.
I'm sorry. I'm not here to
give us a fun time.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry, David. That was so inappropriate. I know.
No, that's why we've avoided it. We haven't been, and the thing that frightens me is that young people, especially I think many boys, you know, 18 to 25, they're going, oh, it's too late. I mean, and they're giving up. That's exactly what the fossil fuel industry wants.
Don't
give up and say, oh, it's too late, you know, then they can continue to make profits. What's happening now in the private sector with the fossil fuel industry, I think, is evil. It's evil because it's driven by the drive for profit. This is the most profitable sector of society, and yet all this time, while they've been saying, get government off our backs, you've got to be free to... All that time, they've been taking public monies by the billions, no problem. Yeah, subsidize this, and no diversion of any of their growing profits into maybe we're energy companies, not oil. Maybe we ought to be investing in finding new sources of no. They put billions of dollars in a campaign to say those scientists don't know what they're talking about. It'll destroy the economy if you come down on all of that stuff.
Long may you reign.
R-A-I-N.
And R-E-I-G-N, David. And I mean,
Thank you all for listening.
So impressive to the fight and the energy and the drive. It's so good what's in your head and in your heart. And God bless Tara for hanging on to you.
Thank you.
I think myself, like many here, don't want the conversation to end. Alas, we need to. Thank you, Valerie, for guiding such a thoughtful and valuable conversation. And Dr. Suzuki, thank you for sharing your perspectives with us today. I think the last word needs to rest with you. On behalf of the Canadian Club Toronto, we are honored again to recognize both you and Dr. Cullis for your contributions. Just one more round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. A little housekeeping. Before we close, we want to highlight an upcoming event. On April 14th, we'll host a venture capital panel featuring the Canadian businesses of tomorrow, featuring leaders from BDC, Golden Ventures, and more. We really hope you can join us. Thanks to our partners for making this event possible, and members and guests, thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.